Hi and welcome to C.R.K.TV, your one-stop shop for all things photography, cinematography and professional imaging. We hope you're all doing well, but nevertheless embracing creation in isolation. Just a reminder, all our live streams are also pre-recorded, so if you've missed this, you'll get a chance to replay the episode on our YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe for all upcoming and future content. Today, we have a terrific episode on fashion photography, with the creme de la creme of medium format hardware, and that is of course the brand Phase One. We will explore how professionals are continuing to use amazing systems for almost every commercial application and setting. In our studio, our guest today is Ben Scott. Ben is one of Australia's leading fashion photographers and lifestyle photographers, shooting some of Australia's leading brands. Until recently, he was the owner of a studio, 501 in Marrickville, and has been involved with both Phase One and Sigma products. Ben, so nice of you to join us today.
Oh wow, what a really nice introduction. I'm almost blushing on camera. It's a pleasure to be here. It's actually nice to be out of the house and not drinking. It's you know, things have got to change.
It's the first time for everything.
It's the first time for everything.
We can drink after the show.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Ben, just to start with, we all want to know, what is the Ben Scott origin story? How did it get started?
Well, I think like most of us, we're influenced by the people around us. And for me, my mum had a dark room.
Yeah.
And so she was always developing photos that she'd taken on the street, and a bit of an amateur photographer. And like anyone, I picked up an old Pentax SLR back in the day. And
good camera?
Yeah, it was. Back then, that was the brand. And yeah, it all grew from there. And I sort of moved to London and started shooting fashion over there, and realised that this was the sort of career that I wanted to do. I met a wonderful designer called Hannah of Couture. So we're shooting couture dresses, and she said, "Oh, come and meet my friend Sophie," and it was the supermodel Sophie Anderton. And yeah, ended up going out and partying with them, and I thought, wow, this is, walking up red carpets and things like that is a lifestyle that I could be very used to. Of course, being a fashion photographer, it's not at all always like that, but there's those aspects, and if you're a creative person, it's a wonderful lifestyle to have. And yeah, I guess I can thank my mum for pushing me to do a career that's full of creativity and fun.
Yeah, I like it how you're attracted to the lifestyle side of it as well.
Any job, you have to have that match, I think. There has to be a...
And how would you describe your style within fashion photography?
I'm quite a diverse photographer. Often, most of my shoots are sort of led by what the client wants. I'm not particularly self-interest. It's not about me a lot of the time. I'll put my input in, put my style in. But a lot of the time it's led by what the client's briefs are. End of the day, they're paying me to do a job. As you mentioned, I used to have a studio in Marrickville, beg your pardon, and
a very cool studio.
Very big, very cool studio, and regretfully, I'm one of those people that's been affected by COVID-19, and we had to close it. But yeah, I've done a lot of studio shoots, and I've got to the stage in my life where I can look at a light and move it, and don't need to worry about how I change it. So I've always been that sort of person that my clients come to and they throw something at me, and it might be not something that I've never done before, but with the years of experience and how I've played with light and how I've done things, I can always do it. So like you've looked at my portfolio, there's a bit of everything there at the moment.
Absolutely.
I avoid weddings, babies and happy people. I think that's the best way to describe me.
That's what we like to hear. That is a good rule.
Most models don't like being happy either, so it's a good match.
Yeah, who likes to see a happy photo?
No.
I think we're going to have some of your shots coming up a bit later in the show that we're going to display for everyone to have a look at. So what do you really like shooting the most, Ben? What floats your boat, so to speak?
In the last couple of years, I've been doing quite a few hair and beauty shoots and jewellery campaigns and things like that. So a lot of the sort of closer headshots, you could say, things that you're focusing on the model's face and you're getting that emotion coming out of the person. And any good photographer, if you can't get an emotion out of the subject you're shooting, you're not doing the job right. And I find shooting hair and beauty, you're getting such a combination of talent, not only hairstylists that create amazing headpieces and to makeup that's incredibly creative. So you're almost bringing a team together of people that just want to be a bit crazy. And I like that. I like mixing things up a bit. So although those sort of hair shoots aren't necessarily commercial based, but it's something that I've always had a passion for, and I love doing it.
Yeah, hair photography is getting really big nowadays.
Yep.
So one more question about your shooting. If budget was not a concern, what would your dream shoot be?
Well, that's quite an easy one actually. I've always wanted to do a couture dress shoot in Iceland.
Okay.
I've been to Iceland. I went for a weekend once, and it's an amazing place, interesting people. But I've always wanted to be. That would be my top list, to fly over there and do a beautiful woman in a red dress on those, on the ice shelf, and just it's that image in my mind that gives me goosebumps. I think it's something that would be awesome to.
Fantastic. Yeah. Someone might steal the idea now. You put it out there.
I'm actually pretty sure somebody's already done it, but that's also one of the nature of photography. You can't, somebody's always done it. There's 1,000,001 people doing photos, but it's something that I'd love to do, and I'm hoping Faze will fly me over there and bring,
Well, that's a good segue. Now you've mentioned the camera that makes it all happen. Phase 1 is the brand that we're talking about today, Ben.
Yep. So
what is your go-to camera and lens setup?
Okay, so with 35mm SLRs, it's generally a Canon 5DS, and the reason why I have that is it combines well with my medium format cameras. It's 50 mags, where most my medium format cameras are over 50 mags, so if something goes wrong, I've got a backup there. But the combination I use for advertising campaigns at the moment is Phase 1 IQ4 150. Depends on the shoot. Generally, I try and stick with prime lenses, so be the 80mm. But again, it just depends on if I'm moving around or if it's a set that I need that little bit of flexibility, then I'd use one of the zoom lenses. But it varies from shoot to shoot, but generally, medium format, I stick with a prime lens.
So I have to ask the question now, Ben. You've brought up 35mm and you've spoken about medium format. What are the pros and cons for you of shooting with each format, and why would you choose medium format, if you would, over 35mm?
There's two situations. I mean, with me, because I'm a fashion photographer, a lot of my work is quick fashion, which is e-commerce stuff. Medium format isn't designed for quick photography. It's not designed for taking 5,000 shots in a day. It's more than capable of doing it, but it doesn't have that sort of motion and feel. So for quick fashion, I will always go to my Canon.
Sure.
With one of the Sigma lenses. But
which Sigma lenses you go to? We can ask that.
My 105 Sigma I friggin' love. It's the most sharpest, beautiful lens you can get, and if I could have that on my camera always, I would. But again, it's generally I move to the 24 to 105 for flexibility as well. But for beauty shoots, advertising shoots, I always go to medium format. And the main reason is that the dynamic range, the colours, everything is beautiful. And not to mention the way Phase 1 has sort of integrated it in with Capture 1. Everything works seamlessly. You have not only the colour controls and everything like that within the camera, but you can also see it on screen instantly. Everything sort of works well together. End of the day, you're working with a medium format camera, and the amount of information you're getting in it is 4 or 5 times more than you would with a standard 35mm. So the colours, and especially skin tones for beauty, and I've done a number of jewellery campaigns just with the Phase 1 just because of that reason, because I'll get the colours right and the jewels will look like the right colour. Everything is perfect.
Fantastic. What are some of the brands you've shot using the Phase 1?
Let's see, IC Sports. So there's some of the photos that you'll see come up here is from the Heroes of Marvel campaign.
Oh yeah.
Where you see all the rugby league guys, trying to look aggressive. A number of recently I shot for Remy Hill from.
Here we go. The image you just mentioned.
Brought it up. So that's actually quite a fun shoot. The life of a fashion photographer isn't always beautiful. We went to a massive studio in North Sydney.
Yeah.
And here's me thinking I'd be treated special, and they said, oh, we've got a room in the main studio because they were doing the TVC at the same time. So they put me beside the rubbish bins.
Huh.
So they'd bring out these superstars of sport, and they'd be looking around and see me standing beside rubbish bins going, is that the photographer? But it ended up being a real fun day, and you can see the challenge that I had in some of the photos was to get these guys to look aggressive, look like a superhero, and bring it out.
How did you do that, Ben?
Taking the piss out of them most of the time. Sorry, excuse the French. Telling them to look at me like I'm their opponent, and just bring it out, talking to people. One of the most important things about any sort of portrait photography or anything that we do in this industry is getting the best out of people. I think out of all the shots, I think there was 15 players that we had to shoot. Given the fact that some of them I only had 2 or 3 minutes with them. Their PR was taking them off somewhere else and doing that, so you had to be quick. And that might be abusing them and say, oh, didn't you drop the ball last week or something like that? Just wind them up a little bit. They knew I was trying to play it. There's 1 or 2 of the pretty boys that just they didn't want to be shot that way.
I see.
It was tricky, but
I saw the Spider-Man. He didn't look too aggressive in his.
No, he wanted to look pretty, and he actually got told off for that because at the end of the day they're paid to be there as well. So, but it was a fun campaign, even though I was beside the rubbish bins.
Yeah, very cool image in the end, and it's got that cartoony type feel.
Yeah, that's all. A lot of it's post work. ISC wanted to make it look that way, but no, the quality of the images and the colours and everything that came through, if you regretfully can't see on screen the originals, but it just all popped and it worked well. And these sort of things, they could print it out on a billboard, which they did, and with the phase 1, of course, you've got the plenty of megapixels to do that sort of thing.
Fantastic. Great story and great image in the end there.
No, thank you.
So if we look at your workflow, Ben, because a lot of people out there will be interested to know, how does phase 1 fit in your workflow? And you mentioned the phase 1 software as well.
Yep. So as I mentioned, phase 1 is my go-to for advertising and beauty campaigns and things like that. So anything that I'm more concentrating on the 1 or 2 images, not 40, 50, 400 images for a shoot. It's mainly when I want that 1 or 2 shots that they want for a campaign shoot. They always have it connected to Capture One, so my clients can actually see what images have been shot, and also gives me the management of the files as we're shooting as well. So I have a digi-op that will sit there, and those people who don't know what a digi-op is, it's somebody who's looking after the computer, looking after your file management, and sometimes changing colours and things like that. So it gives me the ability to almost give the clients a real life view of what they're going to get on the day. Where if you don't have Capture One connected, you're just showing the back of the camera, and no matter how good the screens on the back of these cameras are nowadays, it's never quite as good as showing the client the computer screen itself. So that's generally my flow. I always have my camera's connected to Capture One. I use Capture One for all my archiving and all my cataloguing and everything now, so I can go to a particular shoot based on a date and open up that session for that shoot, and I'll see it straight away. So I use Capture One for everything. I used to use Lightroom, but it can't handle my sort of workflow and how I do things. So it's definitely the way to go nowadays, I think.
That is a very good tip and explanation of how you use the software. Guys, I'd remind everyone watching to keep throwing some questions at Ben. He'll be happy to answer anything, test his knowledge, and we'll throw a few questions his way. So Ben, obviously it's a difficult environment now for everyone, including photographers, with the COVID-19 situation. How are you coping, and what's happened to your work that's been coming in?
Oh, I mean, the market's certainly terrible, to put it nicely. I'm one of those people I've been forced to close my studio. The costs of running it was just too high. I know a lot of people that are in worse situations. I mean, most people in the creative industry are panicking at the moment. But saying that, I am seeing shoots coming through now again. I think it's very hard to manage just because the way that social distancing isn't working. You can't, it's a fine line about whether having a makeup artist now and all that sort of stuff. So
have to do your own makeup.
You have to do your own makeup, and but there's ways around it. There's always ways, and I think, as I said, everyone's been affected quite badly by it in this industry. We're all going to get out of it. It's a small blip in your life, as I said to somebody else. You live for 90 years. This is only 2 months of it, and
that's a good way to look at it.
Hopefully that you spend that 2 months reevaluating your business, like I did, and going, okay, well, when things die like this, what do I do next, or how can I change things? I changed my website. I changed the way that I'm advertising. Contact those clients that in the future will probably want to shoot. Talk to them about what they want to be doing in the future. And it's all about being progressive in the way that you approach this sort of thing. Every business goes through a disaster, as you know as well. It's not one moment, it's running your business for the future.
You have to get a longer lens, Ben, so you don't get so close to the models. You can a longer lens to bridge the gap.
Well, that's the good thing about the phase one, that 150 megapixels, I can go about a kilometre away and still get them.
Okay, guys.
Maybe not quite, actually.
Well, that's another thing
Don't get that interaction.
Phase is backed up by a number of lenses for this system. What are some of the lenses that you use? You mentioned the 85.
I'm trying to remember the prime. Was it 50 to 110? I think it is. Was the main one I've used. I've used the macro as well. The macro, I think it's a 100mm macro. It's a hard one. I'm trying to remember the.
Sure. Well, I know you're not the product manager. You just use the gear,
exactly.
Ben.
I generally go, oh, this one's a good lens. This one will work for me, especially when it comes to primes and things like that. I'll work based on, not necessarily if it's an 80mm. Of course, if I'm doing portrait, I'll use an 80mm, and it's the way I think about things. It depends on the shoot. So I think it was the 50 to 110 was the main one I've used a lot for when I need that flexibility over a prime.
So we spoke about the rugby league shoot you did recently. What are some of the other shoots you've been doing in recent times?
Remy Hill was one of the ones I mentioned recently. So that was for a New York magazine that shoots all the celebrities around the world. I'm not allowed to say any more than that at the moment because it's all in...
It's going to come out in a well-known publication.
We're not allowed to mention the magazine, but I'm allowed to mention who I shot. Again, that was shot with a phase one, so he wasn't dressed in Spider-Man's outfit or anything like that. If you don't know who Remy Hill is, he's the guy that tried to steal Spider-Man's girlfriend, and it was also in Crazy Rich Asians. And lovely guy.
Famous Australian actor.
Famous, well, yeah, he's doing well. I think he's getting
Young
there.
Australian actor.
Yeah, he's getting there. Recently, what else? There's a number of handbag campaigns. I've done some. I'm just trying to think of the more interesting ones at the moment, but it's been quiet for the last few months. So.
Yeah, understandably. So on that theme, we have had some questions come in from our YouTube audience. Question here from John. What is the future of photography post-COVID-19?
Oh.
That's a hard question. Do you have a crystal ball?
Well, it's a hard question, but I think it's a bit like seeing this meme on the other day that they're saying that our children are being homeschooled and taught by alcoholics at the moment, and I think once all us photographers get out of AA meetings, I think I don't know. I think it's certainly going to be tougher for a while. I think, if anything, there should be. It's a bit like a phoenix coming out of fire. I think there'll be a lot of people who will come out and go, I've had 2 months to think about what I'm doing, and I've got some fantastic creative ideas. Like, I've got my friends who are messaging me at the moment going, once we're allowed to do this, let's do X, Y, and Z. So if anything, I think you're going to see more beautiful work, more creative work, more people being a bit more fierce and trying to get that exact shot that they want.
All that pent-up creativity is going to come rushing out.
And I think Australia's a stupid market in a positive way.
Yeah.
We tend to be a bit more robust than a lot of people in the world. We go, meh, it's over, let's get on with it. And
get on with it. She'll be right.
She'll be right, yeah, exactly it. She'll be right, mate. So I think she'll be right, I think.
She'll be apples.
I hope so.
Fantastic. So another question that's come in from another one of our viewers, Paul Gibbs. What equipment have you got on the table? Excellent question there. I'll let you. You're the new product manager appointed today, Ben. What is that? What is that box?
That is the IQ4 150 medium format camera from Phase 1 with a 80mm. I'm reading on the side. 80mm lens on it. I've used this lots. We haven't talked about Phase 1 particularly much on this, other than me using it. The usability of these cameras now are just incredible. Not only have you basically got a computer in the back of this thing, so you can run your own profiles. So if you think of it like if those people have used Capture One, you can set up your own sort of color profiles and how you want an image to look, and you can load it onto the back of the Phase 1 camera and then shoot it and give it to the client straight away. So you could actually have your own sort of style in the way that you shoot without doing any of the post-processing. As long as you're shooting it properly, it's not going to retouch your photo. As long as you're shooting it properly, you can actually give the client the photos on the day, which I've done.
How good is that?
It's very good. And what I love about it is the fact that Phase, I've met the guys from Phase, and they are so enthusiastic about actually improving things. So one of the things that I mentioned to them was, as a working photographer, I'm tethering everything, and this is one of my biggest faults for every camera on the market, is the tether points, and they never quite fit right, or you pull them out and then they break, or Phase has already implemented a new change that means that they stick in properly, you don't lose connection. But saying that, because you're using Capture One, when you do lose connection, you just pop it back in and it straight away works, which is great for most of us professional photographers who trip over our own cables most of the time, and you don't want the client to know how much of an idiot you are, which
we've all been there.
Hiding the fact that you're doing your best, but problems.
So you're not doing too much post-production in some situations.
No. I think I'd say 50% of my shoots now are handover. So I will shoot
50% a handover.
At least. Most clients will want to retouch their own images. Remember these are, like ISC have got their own production group, which marketing teams that have very highly paid retouchers and things like that. So a lot of the work, I give them what they require, the images as they are, so I try and shoot as perfectly as possible, which is helped again by looking at Capture One. You see what you're shooting, you've got the shot, you can hand it over to the client on the day, and that sort of flow means that the client's even more happier with you, because they've got the images straight away. They don't have to muck around for 3 weeks waiting for you to come back and forth. They can process it.
I like it, Ben. Get it right, get it in camera. That's old school photography.
It is.
Don't rely on the computer.
I used to shoot film, so you sort of have to get it right then.
So on that point, we have another question. Can your clients see the medium format difference? That question from Alex.
Yes, definitely.
What are some of the characteristics that
that's a bit of, I do have clients that will specifically request me to shoot with a medium format camera, just because they've seen me shoot with it before, and they've compared shots in some cases. But you have to understand, a lot of clients, unless they're higher end clients, don't necessarily know the difference until you show them. And that's part of the sales pitch I always have with a lot of clients is I say, look, I shoot medium format, and they go, what's that? And I say, okay, well, this is a shot that's done with medium format, and the flexibility that you have with the colors and everything like that, and it's shot perfect and you get everything right compared to a 35mm camera. So some clients, I sort of use it as a selling point, and it makes me stand out from all the rest of photographers. End of the day, you're not going to see a blogger using this camera.
That's right.
You're not. I've had it on shoots, and some of the guys out there will have this as well, where you've got the client come up to you and go, "Oh, my daughter's got the same camera as that."
It's an embarrassing moment.
Generally, you don't have that problem. Well, actually, a couple of very lucky students out there do have these, but yeah, generally it's a production horse, and it's designed for working, and that's what I love about it.
Okay, maybe I can ask you a cheeky question, Ben, without sort of naming names. What are some of the features of Phase 1 that stick out compared to other medium format cameras?
As I said, the main feature is, well, there's two main features which I love, which is probably the flexibility of the screens, and on this where you can manage how you work your camera, which some of the other medium formats you can't do. The fact that Phase 1, and this is the biggest one for me, as I mentioned before, seem to listen to what we say. For me as a photographer, having an issue with the camera affects my life, affects how I work, how I do things, and if a company doesn't listen to us and are only about the bottom line, that's a big difference. And I've had issues with another medium format company, and not an issue, just mentioned some things, and they said, "Oh, we'll never implement that," even though it's something that pretty much everyone I know who had that particular camera wanted that change.
Interesting.
And it wasn't an expensive move, it was just something that'd make our lives easier.
Well, that's some great feedback about working with the corporate side.
I mean, simple things like this as well on the Phase is just even the batteries on this are pretty standard, which you don't get with a number of other companies.
Okay, great. I'll remind everyone, if you don't catch this live, you can still watch the replay on our YouTube channel, on the C.R.Kennedy Imaging YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe to that channel as well. More questions coming in. Well, we've got Ben, the man here with all the knowledge.
I'll do my best.
Here comes perhaps a bit of a curly one.
Oh no, I'll have a drink of water while I'm waiting for it.
But I'm sure you're up to the challenge, Ben. Have you used the focus stacking function in the Phase 1 system? Okay, that was it. And what do you think about it?
I don't use the focus stacking for my job. I have used it when I'm one of the Phase 1 certified professionals, so I have been trained how to use it, and it's pretty automated really, compared to, I did a jewelry shoot many years ago with my old Canon, and it was literally adjusting the focal points on how I shot and then stack them all together, where Phase 1 will actually do it within the software. Actually, have they implemented it within the software? I'm not sure. It's all built in the software and in the camera to do it, so it's actually pretty seamless. But as I said, I haven't done it because I haven't needed to do it within Phase 1 yet.
Interesting.
It is awesome when I played with it though.
That's some good feedback on the focus stacking there. Another question that's come in from one of our viewers at home: how does rebrushing digitally styled hair go at this level of resolution? A lot of people are interested in hair photography now. It's super popular,
okay,
and I know you're a bit of a master at it, Ben.
Let me put it this way. When I send it off to my retoucher, because my high-end shoots, I often send it off to a retoucher just because it's like hiring the person that's best at the job. You send it off to the person who does it and loves it. They couldn't initially open the file because they weren't realising it was a Phase 1 and it was massive. It is a different kettle of fish. In some ways, they said it was easier because they can actually get down to the detail. So, they can actually see the image and see where the hairlines are and adjust it a lot more finely. But on the other side of things, you have to remember a lot of these images, no matter how many megapixels you're going to use, it depends on where they're going to be used. So they might be retouching out hair for an image that's only going to be used at 2,000 pixels wide. So it depends on what they're doing.
Well,
Either way,
here comes we call this a hair shot?
It is a hair shot. It's for AFHA. It's one of the finalist images. Oops,
it looks
sorry.
That's all right. It looks like a bit of a perm going on there, Ben. How do you get that?
That was a combination of two leaf blowers actually on either side to blow it from behind to push the hair up. And then there was some manipulation in Photoshop afterwards, just to move some hair around. But it was probably our last shot of the day, and that look wasn't working. We had her standing, we had her doing different things, and we ended up, she's on top of a trestle table, and I said, oh, just cross your legs and we'll fluff up the dress.
Yes.
And she just sat there and went, like she was a bit fed up. And
Looks.
George, who's the model there, is fantastic. She'll put up with anything, and that popped out. And sometimes that's the beauty of images and hair shoots, and that's why I love them. You can be as creative and cool as you possibly want.
That's a good story. Nice image. And what was that image used for?
That's it's for AFHA, which is Australian Hair Competition. It's one of the big hair competitions in Australia. Pretty much all the top guys go into it, and it was one of the finalists. Last year, I think it was, yeah. So out of 10 images, I think.
Very good. And Ben, I might also get you to talk some more product now, while we've got it in front of us, because I know people at home are asking to explain what lenses we have here. We've got the 120mm macro.
Yep, I've used this one. Like most macro lenses, they tend to be a little bit slower in the focusing. That's another thing about phase, is that we highlighted the fact that there was issues with little lenses, and they fixed it pretty much with a firmware update straight away. I've used it for jewelry campaigns and things like it. It's a macro lens, but I've used macro lenses also for beauty shoots. I just seem to like the way that it shapes
Sure.
the things. You just get that little bit more change in depth of field.
What did you use for the hair shot that we just saw?
That was 80mm. So the 80mm was pretty much, as I mentioned, it's my prime go-to lens for
And
most
we've
things.
got
Was that the 50?
55, is that?
55. I've used this a little bit. It's a little bit wide for me for most of my sort of shoots. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest, but again, it depends on what you're shooting and how you're shooting, whether you like that sort of style. But the build quality on these things is incredible. They're
built like absolute
Yes.
tanks. They weigh a ton. I lift it up.
I think
Could be
that's
doing-
what most people would say to me, how do you shoot with one of those all day?
Yes.
And I
How do
say,
you?
I don't walk the next day. No. But
I don't go to the gym anymore.
You get used to it. It's one of those sort of things, like anything you're carrying. You see videographers, they're always carrying around a lot of gear. You get used to managing these things. And I actually don't like small cameras. I find I'm a lot more stable and a lot more, I seem to frame myself a bit better on bigger cameras and heavier cameras now. And worst case, you put it on a tripod and work from there.
The 80mm, which is on the phase, there seems a little bit smaller in form factor, a little bit more manageable than these other two lenses.
You're going to ask me why.
Why? Why, Ben?
I can't tell you. I'm afraid that's something I don't know. I think it's just if I remember rightly, it's the type of lens it is for that. I can't tell you the right. I'd lead people the wrong way, I'm afraid, on that one.
But this setup is your go-to setup, and what you're shooting a lot of portraits, fashion portraits mainly on.
Yes, it is. But remember, like most photographers, I will move around to what suits the shoot. I would look through the lens and go, this lens works for me most of the time. It's not necessarily about if that lens was the same size as the 50 to the 120, I would still use it if it was the practical lens for me.
I see.
So the 120 is a bit long a lot of the time for what I'd usually shoot. So it just depends on how you compose your shots.
Beautiful Schneider optics here.
Yes. You don't want to drop one.
You certainly do not. You can, of course, see the entire phase range on our website, CRK Photo Imaging. So go and check that out. A reminder to everyone, if you have missed this show, you can watch the full replay on our YouTube channel. So please subscribe to CRK Imaging YouTube. It'll also be on our Facebook channel. You can watch it on whatever platform you like and get all of Ben's great tips and knowledge about using phase cameras. Ben, you have the next shoot lined up, or you can't tell us, right?
The next shoot is for a beauty campaign, actually.
Terrific.
And it's for it's a company that deals with cancer patients. So we're actually,
I see.
it's for blemishes on faces and things. So it's actually perfect for Faze because it's all about the face and about the models themselves.
You're going to capture so much detail in each face.
Yep, yeah. So it'll be, it's almost like a beauty campaign, but it's about hiding blemishes for cancer patients. So it's not an atypical fashion shoot. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be more about friendly and people, and everyone's been affected by cancer in one part of their life. So it's something that I'm happy to help with and get involved with.
Well, it sounds like we've got the right equipment here for the job. Ben, if there are no more questions coming through, thanks for your time today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on. It's
great.
Been good.
A good friend of the...
I have to work out what the 80, why it's smaller.
Why is it so small? We're going to write to Faze and ask them.
I'm 99% sure it's on their website, and I've read about it, but
I see.
I've forgotten about it. I'm old.
We're gonna put the answer below. Guys, don't forget to check out Ben's work there on his Instagram. Go to our YouTube channel, like, share, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. Ben, you're one of the top users in the country of Faze. It's great to have your detailed knowledge here. Thanks so much for coming in today.
No, pleasure. It's fun to be here. Thank you for having me.
Always fun. It's Friday afternoon. We can crack a drink after this. So don't be a stranger, and come in again. Talk to us again soon. If anyone's got any more questions, put them in the comment section below, and I'm sure Ben will get back to you.
Yeah, feel free to message me. I'm always happy to answer questions.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today, and see you again soon on CRK TV.